Thank you, Sophie, and a very warm welcome from BBC London as the capital joins the nation in remembering the life of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. For most of us, she's the only monarch we've ever known. Windsor and Buckingham Palace, where we have just seen King Charles and the Queen Consort greeting large crowds, have become focal points for people wanting to pay their respects. Also along the Mall, where we can join Frankie McCamley. Frankie, just give us a sense of the mood there.
Yes, good afternoon, Riz. We're just around 400 metres from the palace just behind us, and you could just about hear some of the cheers as the new King and Queen Consort came, and people just got that tiny glimpse of them. Well, further away from Buckingham Palace, it's a much more sombre mood. Although there are thousands of people here walking up and down, it's very, very quiet. People are bringing flowers, people are visibly moved by what's happened. And I have noticed there are a lot of people wearing black as they pay their respects to the Queen. Now, away from here on the Mall, Westminster Abbey, the bells rang out at midday today, and as people passed, they took a moment to pay their respects. Tube stations across the capital, staff left messages for passengers as they made their way to work. And some of London's most famous landmarks, including the BT Tower, made their mark and left their messages to the Queen. In Hammersmith Academy paid their respects with a minute's silence, and it's really clear that the Queen's death has affected people, both young and old, some of whom gave their memories to us.
I had my 23 years in the army, and my last 4 years was here at Horse Guards Parade, where I worked as a warrant officer for London District. And one of the jobs I was given, because my life was catering, was to go down to the Chelsea Hospital to prepare supper for the Queen, who on the last day of the Chelsea Flower Show always stays at the Chelsea Hospital for supper. So I went down there and did supper, and I forget exactly what but it was special.
Well, there are so many people with so many memories. I just spoke to a young lady who used to feed the Queen's horses, who made her way to come and lay some flowers. And as we're expecting more and more people to head here to come and pay their respects and welcome the new King, there will be later at 6 p.m. a service at St Paul's Cathedral. Back to you, Riz.
Thank you. That's Frankie McCamley on the Mall there. And we know that Londoners and the streets of the capital have been the backdrop to many of the special moments and key events in the Queen's life. Victoria Hollins looks back.
London has been the stage for some of the most significant events of the 7 decades of the Queen's reign, from the celebrations, the historical events and the moments of national mourning. Princess Elizabeth was born in Bruton Street in Mayfair, then moved to a lavish house in Piccadilly. Then it was Buckingham Palace that became home. And it was here on the balcony overlooking Green Park and St James's Park that many of the historical moments of her life would be marked, including VE Day and the end of World War II.
Outside Buckingham Palace, the crowds cheered themselves hoarse. 7 times during VE Day, the royal family appeared on the balcony.
And Londoners could always be relied on to line the streets for her life's significant events, including her coronation in June 1953.
The settings have long been in place, the stage is already crowded, the scene is set.
Street parties too became a theme of Elizabeth's reign. Nowhere more than during her jubilees. Her Silver Jubilee in 1977, when there were more than 4,000 street parties in London alone. Then in 2002, the Golden Jubilee. And in 2012, the Diamond Jubilee celebrations.
I'm so glad I didn't stay at home, even if it's raining, who cares?
They included a vast pageant when the Thames played a starring role with a flotilla along the river. And in June this year, more street parties for the weekend of Platinum Jubilee celebrations. London was the backdrop too for the challenges and tragedies the Queen faced during her reign. The death of Princess Diana saw demands for Elizabeth to share her personal grief with the world. After pressure mounted, she returned to the capital, facing criticism she was out of touch.
Judging by the people who were around me and their comments, we're pleased she's back and we feel better now.
When a terror attack struck London in 2005, leaving 52 people dead,
She was in trouble because they were coming in so quickly.
the Queen visited the workers who'd been involved in the emergency response. But there were also the regular commitments of royal life, the opening of London's buildings, like New Scotland Yard. And Her Majesty attended every Chelsea flower show for 50 years. This year she used a buggy to tour 10 gardens, one of the last public appearances of her reign. Her Majesty also had a ringside seat for the huge physical changes in London, including its transport network, like the opening of the Docklands Light Railway in 1987. And more than 30 years later, in May this year, she marked the completion of Crossrail, which took her name, the Elizabeth Line, at Paddington. She described it as spectacular. In 2012, the world was watching as London played host to the Olympic Games. The Queen featured in the opening ceremony, but she also toured the transformed area of East London and met some of the 70,000 Olympic volunteers. Among her royal duties, the Queen has also welcomed numerous foreign leaders to London.
The President of the United States of America and Mrs. Obama.
She's also met 13 of 14 American presidents in power during her reign. This year, the Queen achieved a milestone never reached by any other British monarch, 70 years on the throne.
70 years? Extraordinary.
London was the stage for festivities seen around the world. But these would be the last public celebrations of Queen Elizabeth II's life. Her reign, which spanned so many generations, is over. Her death is more than the end of an era. It's an end of a life of duty, of dedication, and of service.
So, as we reflect on the life and legacy of the Queen, we'd like to hear some of your memories. How will you remember her? Did you ever meet her? Or just tell us how you're feeling. Share your stories, photos or videos on email. The address hellobbclondon@bbc.co.uk. Let's pause for a moment now and get a check on today's weather and the weekend with Kate.
Good afternoon. Further showers mixed with sunny spells this afternoon. The wind a northwesterly lighter than the last few days, so the showers fairly slow moving. One or two sharp ones, you might just hear a rumble of thunder, and the Met Office has a yellow weather warning in place for the home counties and Essex for thunderstorms valid until 7 o'clock. Temperatures today getting up to 20 Celsius. Now the showers fade into the evening. Overnight, some clearer spells, then cloud as we head through to Saturday morning. Still a chance of an isolated shower tonight. The minimum temperature dropping to 12 Celsius. It is generally drier through the weekend, but there's still chances of showers, especially through Saturday. Temperatures getting warmer on Sunday after a misty and quite foggy start. We'll see some brighter spells for the afternoon.
And that's all from us this lunchtime. Thank you for joining us. I'll be back later this evening with some of your memories of the UK's longest serving monarch, a Queen who epitomised duty and dedication, a constant presence in a changing world. We'll leave you now with just some of the images of her life and reign. Remembering Her Majesty the Queen. Coverage continues here on BBC One with Clive Myrie.